All right, Chuck, thank you very much. Well, as David Letterman is famous for saying, this person needs no introduction, but we're going to give one anyway. I'm going to call on Julie Scales to come to introduce our program speaker today.
Well, I'm sure the band needs no introduction for a number of people in this room, but we have some newer members. And just prior to the meeting, one of the newer members said that he really enjoyed the programs. Is telling him about the need in the organizations here and things that are going on. So our guest today is Georgiana Bissett, and she was the executive director of the Dunedin Fine Arts Center for about 20 years. That's how I know Georgiana. Georgiana, I will not share any secrets, okay? And but anyway, she did retire, but she remains busy as a consultant. Is that the correct word? Oh, interim executive director of the Dunedin History Museum. So, without further ado.
Thank you, Miss Julie, who I always call Julie. Julie was on my interview committee when I was hired, and I remember some of those questions, like, what do you know about art? I said, what do you know about art? So I'm Jan, and over the years, I have become passionate about living in Dunedin. It is an amazing little place. I mean, what, 34,000 people? And what this city accomplishes because of their driven and dedicated citizens, it's pretty amazing. And when the History Museum said, would you come help us? And I said, why? I mean, everybody loves the History Museum. Well, they had a few challenges there. And I've been there probably since May. And I'm only there 20 hours a week, and I'm called the interim. Part of my job is to make sure that the staff levels will be filled, and so that we can hire a real executive director, because I like traveling. I've been to Vietnam, and so when I'm away, luckily for the History Museum, there's no sick time, there's no pay like that. But it really is, this city is very lucky to have such a, can you turn it on, please?
It's
to have David
it's looking for you.
church.
Georgiana's looking for you.
Looking for, oh, it needs my face.
It needs your face.
You're gonna bet it wasn't me. Okay, oh, I hate this. Come on. Oh, here you are, welcome
There we
back.
go.
Yeah. I don't know, but these computers. Hello, come on, let's sit home. Now, let me know, I know many of you here from all the years of the Art Center, because I think I was known as a nag, sort of, but in a nice way. Come to the Art Center, the most fabulous organization in the state of Florida, and then comes the History Museum. Who has not been to the History Museum? Don't be afraid, show your hand. Lots of people not been there. Yay! We have people that walk in all the time and say, I didn't know you were here. Now that's kind of hard because it's right on Main Street. And when they walk into the store, the museum gift shop, they go, oh, then they start walking in, and Patty Coleman, and I know many of you know Bill Coleman, for years and years. The Art Center had a partnership with Bill. He was down on Douglas, wonderful metal worker. And she puts lots of excellent things into the shop. Did it die? All I brought was photographs. I'm not one to do PowerPoint and lecture. What happened to it?
The projector seems to have shut off for some reason.
Oh, well, we always had trouble here. I will welcome you on behalf of the Rotary Club of Dunedin North, of which I am a member. That's the 7:30 in the morning, and I've been there 19 years. When I first came, it was the board of directors. I'm sure Julie had some input and said I needed to join Rotary. And at that time, I was shocked there were 2 Rotaries. Of course, now we have 3 Rotaries. So we are very much a Rotary town. Well, what I brought was just some photographs to just show you what the History Museum looked like. I'll throw up something to see who knows the answer. What was Dunedin called before it became Dunedin? Chuck. God, it's Jeopardy that throw you out.
Jonesville.
Yeah, no, wrong.
Jonestown.
Jonesboro. Pat, our librarian, would know that it is Jonesboro. Now, Mr. Jones had a little store, but two other enterprising men. This is our logo. You may wonder, is this a railroad museum? Because when I first saw the logo and I first came, no, but railroads are incredibly important to Dunedin, very, very. And there's a reason why they are. And the museum is housed in the railroad building that is 100 years old, not the original building. The original one burned down. It was all wood. It was rebuilt. So can you go forward? Let's go forward quickly. About us. This is, your usual, what we're about. And most people don't realize that there's three parts of the History Museum. The Andrews Memorial Chapel. How many have been there? It's over in Hammond. Beautiful, beautiful building. Do you know it survived a flood during Milton? And when it dried out, you had no idea there was a flood there because of that beautiful pine floor and ceiling. This Andrews Memorial Chapel is what started the History Museum because it was going to be torn down. And there was a group of people that formed the Historical Society. Now, you know how people sometimes say Hysterical Society. Thank gosh, thank heavens that we have people that want to keep beautiful things. Flip up, Mr. Dave, Reverend Dave. This is our mission, trying for discovering and fostering connections. Dunedin, in this county of Pinellas, in Tampa Bay, has quite a unique history. And I know many of you sitting in this room have helped it greatly. Tom, Chuck, lots of you. You can go up. So Vinnie Luisi, who's the city historian, was hired 35 years ago to work with the Historical Society. And then he retired, but we have him back a couple times a month to help with the history. Because guess what? He was executive director, but he was also the historian. And you would think, oh, a little town, 35,000 people, there's not much history. Well, do you know what happened during World War II about this town? You heard the name Skinner, right? Well, he sold to the U.S. government for 4 years orange concentrate for the Army, the Navy, but before that, he put Dunedin on the map, the oranges. That's why the railroads were so important. The Orange Belt Railroad came through Dunedin and took oranges all over the United States. So what's the Scottish connection? This is where the name comes in. Okay, who knows what Dunedin means? The name. Edinburgh, but in Gaelic, what does it mean? Yes, it was named after the ancient city of Edinburgh. What's so important when how many have been to Edinburgh? What do you notice when you're on Princess Street? You look up. The castle. It means castle on the hill. Well, I guess our biggest hill might be here in the golf course, isn't it? Yeah, or you could go down, Weybridge Lane, it has a hill. And what happened was, and I go back, you have to understand, George M. Bissett kept this way of talking that it's like a puzzle to see if you could follow it. So Mr. Jones, little store, and then along came two men, Douglas and Skinner, and said, we would love to help you with the store. And then they immediately wanted to find out how you make it a city, because it was just a settlement, less than 100 people. You had to have what? A post office. They got a post office, and they changed the name to Dunedin. Never gave a reason why. It sounds better than Jonesboro in a way. And then from there, it really started rocketing. Let's go up a few. This is who are on the board, which everybody has a board. So the three parts, the chapel, this is what the chapel looks like. And they cut it in half to transport it to where it is in Hammock. And this is it today. Marcia Goins runs it. She's our manager. We've already done this. Last year she did 46 weddings. We're doing concerts there. And for Black History Month in February, we are doing a concert on a famous musician that was born and raised in Dunedin, Dwight. And I'm forgetting his last name. So we're having a foursome, a quartet from the orchestra that will be playing his music. But yes, you know, you relate. Oh, wow. Oh, Chris Banks. Well, Chris is now on our board. Yeah. And I know London well too. So does Julie. See, it's less than 7 degrees of separation here. It really is. So we'll be doing that. And so the 3 parts, we have the Andrews Memorial Chapel. We did a fabulous, spooky, easy, lots of things happening. If you've not been there, every Wednesday, Marcia's there to show people. It is beautiful. Next slide. So the organization, yes, we have the box car that now has new ownership. And guess what? They're selling coffee, lattes, and espresso. Because when I first started helping at the History Museum, I kept saying to the owner, why don't you sell coffee? Nobody drinks coffee. Okay. Well, let me tell you, the lines now for the coffee, wonderful. And there's a store right on Main Street. And you know, the city of Dunedin, if you've not attended their events like old-fashioned Christmas and all the things they do, it's phenomenal. Their Parks and Recs department. And the best night or best day that we had for the shop was when? Yeah, the old-fashioned Christmas on, at Fridays are good and cheap. And the shop is all helped by volunteers. Next one. So now I'm jumping back to what was when Dunedin first became Dunedin. What is that a photograph of all those trees? Main Street. And do you know what the men did? Who knows that story? Pat, you know. They chopped them all down. The women, they kept the one. It was too big. They said, but I mean, they said business-wise, you couldn't have a street with trees. The women literally, that they said they chained. I'm sure they used, I don't know, maybe they had chains to the trees. And they were not letting the men cut them down. Then again, women that we used to have to do had to go home for dinner. I wonder how many of you have husbands or partners who cook dinner. That's the best. So they had to go home, and then the men cut the trees down. Oh yeah, that certainly is. Mitchell had musical bond with Dunedin. All right, original. Julie's down. So why do we have a pig here? Now you know too much. You've been a donor and a member. But all the children who walk into the History Museum, Mommy, Daddy, a pig. And they all want to shake it and get on it and move it. Well, there's a very good reason why they have a pig. We all know it, particularly Miss Julie, who had been a commissioner, vice mayor. They needed an ordinance. They never had an ordinance. They were a town now. So it was the pigs were driving people crazy because no, you weren't. But you know, ordinance. And they didn't know how to stop all these pigs that were on Main Street everywhere because people were keeping pigs. I know there's a theory they came from Caladesi Island, but that was called Hog Island. The first ordinance, no pigs unless you have them in a pen. That was a big deal. Kept them out of the road. Okay, then this is where people do come into the museum. Or were there any early Indians or indigenous people? Well, there were. We have no artifacts. Safety Harbor has a few. They were the Tobago. But the Smithsonian, 60 years ago, took all of the artifacts. So they're in the Smithsonian. But they knew that this was a beautiful place to live, right? It had wonderful natural resources. People ask about the Scottish history because of Dunedin, but you know what? Dunedin has lived up to its name, hasn't it? What do we have here? Bagpipes, but our bagpipes, my husband is from Ireland, and one of his cousins plays the bagpipes, and she was the Irish national bagpipe player, because Irish play bagpipes too. And when I said we live in Dunedin, she said, oh, you've got the best bands. The pipe bands are excellent when they get to go to Scotland and play. So we're pretty well known for those bagpipes. And I think the high school and middle school do a wonderful job. And I know that Chris did a great job. Okay, so, and we all like the bagpipe. Of course, I think they were originally started for what, war? I know Shakespeare talks about how they scare you, the bagpipes. So this was before, this is after. Some of these buildings, people are always telling me, do you know who owned this building? Vinnie Luisi could tell you, but I'm being told, doesn't look a lot different. Storefronts look different. Next, because I'm taking too much lunch isn't here yet. Okay. So the first train depot, that's what it looked like. First train, 100 years. Next. And you know what? Isn't it wonderful that they didn't just let those tracks just die? And we now have the Pinellas Trail, we've had it, and the station master. When you come into the museum, if you have it, you can see exactly where the station master was and where the trains came from. And, you know, a lot of people love trains. And you must know who this is. Citrus Industry. That is Mr. Skinner. What a feat. What a feat. And I understand they're coming this summer, all the members of the family for a reunion. So that'll be good. And I sadly did not live here when all the orange groves were here. Who lived in Dunedin or Clearwater? 40 years, and wasn't it beautiful? I remember hearing from people when I first joined the art center that you could smell the orange blossoms, and I guess it was the weather change and the land became much more valuable for homes. But that was Mr. Skinner's factory, which was known as the Coca-Cola bottling, and I understand they're leaving soon. Next. But I will tell you, the federal government, he had a fire and the federal government rebuilt it for him because he had developed orange concentrate. He was an amazing man and sold all the orangeade and the orange concentrate. This is inside the museum showing an orange work. They used to pick it all by hand. Oh, now we must have some sailors in here. The women sailors, no, because Dunedin was a first. Orange concentrate prams, how to teach people how to sail. And we have the original pram in the museum. And where we are now, you know how famous this place was, this golf club, the PGA, the Donald Ross. I mean, I know people in Pennsylvania that said, oh, don't you have a Donald Ross golf course there? I said, how do you know that? They're avid golfers. So that's pretty cool. And we're thrilled that the city was able to pull off redoing this golf club. Okay. And the same time, actually, that this PGA happened here, the Fenway was also built. And what's new for the History Museum, what's not so new, 3 years ago, an estate, an artist called Ralph Royal deeded or willed his home to the History Museum, and his house was built the same year. We will be renting it. We were hoping to do Airbnb, but it's in the wrong part of the city. It's on Wilkie Street. If you know of anyone that wants to rent a house on Wilkie Street, it'll be ready in a month. So we're very pleased with that. And it does have all the 1924 looks. Let's see. Oh, Honeymoon Island. Y'all know why it was called Honeymoon. Because man had a great idea to invite people to, he did a national contest to bring honeymooners Honeymoon Island. And that lasted only a couple of years because we had 1941, World War II. But if you visit Honeymoon, you can see what the original huts looked like. And then we have a makeup of one here at the History Museum. And it was known all over America. People wanted to come to Florida for Honeymoon Island. I often wondered, how did they do with the mosquitoes? Oh, they didn't be too cold. This number wasn't then. Okay, next, let's see. So, thank you. Oh, yes. You know, young people, 28-year-old get to say, love the hashtags. You know, scan me. But, so what's new at the museum? Well, the Ralph Royal House. The original estate said you could not touch it for 15 years. But our new president spent a lot of time, I did accompany him, to attorney Deborah Bushnell. I said, you can't leave a house for 15 years, not a 1924 house, it'll just disappear. So she did agree that we could rent it, mainly to pay, I think, the taxes on it, because it's not homestead since the previous owners passed away. And we will be selling Ralph's art. It's very dollish. It's not everybody's taste, but some of it's pretty good. We're hoping to be able to work with the county and the Pinellas Community Foundation. I don't know. We would love to be able to work with people interested in the environment and the science on the Gladys Douglas Preserve. But they're doing an engineering and structural study on it because luckily for me, I did know Gladys very well. She was a huge supporter of the Art Center. And I was in her house quite a few times. And it's been sitting empty now since her, Bob passed away. We would like to we're doing many more events, but the main thing for everyone to remember is you live in a city that many, many people across this United States want to live in. Look at the house prices. Amazing. But more important is the support that is given to the whole community. And I think that's what is the main message I want to send out is your history is important, but so is the future. And we keep telling it, and we have all new history, like look at how the hurricanes have changed. That has really been something. And come to the museum, come and see some of the mix and mingles where we have speakers, or the chapel for the concerts. We are doing concerts with the Irish National Club from Tampa, and those are sellouts. Get on our mailing list. Doesn't cost anything to be on a mailing list. And if you have any historical questions, probably remember those. Did anybody ever listen to Click and Clack on NPR radio? Remember they had the quiz stump? Yeah, car talk, stump to jump. That's kind of me with the history question. You want to stump me? You have a history question? No, that's good. But we are our history today. And I am very proud to wave the flag for the History Museum. And I thank you, Julie, for asking.